Okay, picture this. You're at the kitchen table with your partner, you're staring at your bank account, and you're just wondering, where did all the money go? I mean, between the two of you, you're pulling in a great salary, way more than your parents ever did. You should be building wealth, feeling secure, but instead, you're just stressed. You did everything right. The degrees, the careers, the house. So why does it feel like you're drowning? All right, let's get into this. Look, if this feels familiar, I really want you to know you are not imagining things. This isn't some kind of personal failure, it's a structural problem that millions and millions of families are facing. This feeling of just running in place, of working harder and harder just to stay afloat, well, that's the central theme we're going to explore today.
So how did we even get here? This isn't just a feeling, it's a real phenomenon. And it's backed by some pretty startling research that uncovers this paradox right at the heart of modern family finances.
Way back in 2003, before she was a senator, a Harvard law professor named Elizabeth Warren analyzed thousands of families who had gone broke. And what she found was just shocking. Families with two working parents were actually more likely to file for bankruptcy than the single-income families from a generation ago. Think about that. Working twice as hard made them more fragile, not more secure. And that, right there, is the two-income trap. Let's break down the numbers, because this is where it gets really crazy. A dual-income family in the 2000s made 75% more money, even after adjusting for inflation. I mean, they should be crushing it, right? But after you account for the soaring fixed costs, we're talking housing, healthcare, childcare, they actually had about $1,500 less in discretionary income than the single-earner family from the 70s. More money coming in, less money left over. Wild! So to see how this plays out in the real world, let's look at a hypothetical modern couple. We're going to call them the Parkers, and they're about to find out just how this trap works firsthand. So, meet Sarah and Mike. They're in their early 30s, they both have really good careers, and together they make $143,000 a year. They followed the script perfectly, right? They got the education, they built their careers, they saved up, and now they're ready to buy their first home. And boom, here's their biggest obstacle. Back in 1970, the average home cost about 2.6 times the average household income. Today, that ratio has skyrocketed to 7.0x. You see, what happened was, every family started showing up to open houses with two incomes. And that meant two incomes became the minimum bid to compete, not an advantage. Your buying power has just been decimated. So the Parkers buy a modest house in a good school district, and this is where their money just evaporates. Their mortgage and all the related costs, that's $4,200. Now add in healthcare, 2 car payments because they both need to get to work, groceries, utilities, and oh yeah, student loans. And their total fixed costs are over $7,500 a month. Okay, so after federal, state, and payroll taxes are all taken out, and after all those fixed costs are paid, this is what the Parkers have left from their $143,000 income. Less than $1,000. That single number has to cover retirement savings, emergencies, car repairs, and literally anything fun. This is the reality of the trap. So here's the crucial point. Unlike a single-income family of the past, where the non-working spouse was kind of a form of financial insurance, they could enter the workforce if needed, the Parkers have already played their card. Both of their incomes are totally committed just to keeping the lights on. If one job is lost, they don't lose half their income, they lose their ability to function. The whole thing collapses. And now for the part where the math gets genuinely cruel. We are going to break down Sarah's salary to see what it's actually worth to the household after all the costs of her working are factored in. This is going to be rough.
Okay, let's start right here. Sarah makes a solid professional salary of $68,000 a year, but that's just the starting line.
First off, her income doesn't get taxed from zero. Nope, it stacks right on top of Mike's, pushing them into a higher tax bracket. So after federal, state, and FICA taxes, that's for Social Security and Medicare, her $68,000 immediately becomes just under $51,000. Now let's add 2 kids to the equation. In their area, center-based childcare costs about $14,400 per child per year. That is a staggering $28,800 annually. And just like that, her remaining take-home pay is slashed to just over $22,000.
But she still has to get to work. When you factor in gas, maintenance, and the depreciation on her car for a 35-minute commute, that's another almost $6,500 a year? We're now down to about $15,000.
Finally, there's what some people call the exhaustion tax, right? When both parents work full-time, they are just too tired to cook or clean every night. So you get food delivery, maybe a cleaning service, pre-made meals. When you add up all those convenience costs, Sarah's income nets negative $802. The household is literally paying for the privilege of her working. To put that in perspective, even if we're being generous and we cut that exhaustion spending in half, her effective net wage for a professional, college-educated job comes out to about $3.75 an hour. She would literally make more money working part-time at Costco.
Okay, so that feels pretty hopeless, right? But it's not, I promise. There is a way out, and it requires doing something that feels completely counterintuitive. It requires a totally different path. So let's meet the Chens.
The Chens have the exact same household income as the Parkers, $143,000. But just look at their choices. They bought a smaller house in a solid but not prestigious school district. They drive older, paid-off cars. And here it is the key. They structured all of their essential costs to be covered by one income, not two. And this is the result. The second income, which after taxes is about $45,000, doesn't go to covering bills. It goes entirely to building wealth. They max out their retirement accounts, they put the rest into savings and investments. The Parkers have obligations, the Chens have options. It's a huge difference.
So how can you actually apply this? Well, it comes down to following a new financial script, one that's designed to build resilience instead of fragility.
Here it is. Rule number 1 is the most important one. Never let your essential fixed costs require both of your paychecks. Live on one. Then you automate the entire second paycheck to go directly into savings and investments. Make it so it never even hits your checking account. You have to change your mindset. That second salary isn't for lifestyle inflation. It is your freedom fund.
So what are the big takeaways here? First, you got to understand that it's not you, the game has changed. Essential costs have just outpaced wages, making two incomes the new baseline. Second, you have to recognize that a second income's value can be a total illusion after all the taxes and costs are factored in. But here's the most important part. By consciously choosing to live on one income, you're not just surviving, you are building a path to financial freedom in as little as 15 years. You have to actively opt out of a system that is designed to take every single dollar you make.
And that brings us to the final question you should be asking yourself. Take a really hard look at your numbers, at your life. Is that second paycheck truly getting you ahead? Is it buying you options and security? Or has it just locked you into a bigger house, a more expensive car, and a much more fragile life? The only way out is to see the trap before you're fully in it. And now, you've seen it.